Every civilization believes it will last forever. The Romans thought their empire was eternal. The Maya built cities that touched the sky. The Soviet Union looked unstoppable, until suddenly it wasn't. And here's the strange part. Most civilizations don't collapse in one dramatic moment. Usually, people living inside them barely notice it happening. The market's still open, the roads still work, people still go to work, scroll their phones, complain about politics, and assume tomorrow will look like today. Until one day, it doesn't. So why does this keep happening? Why do powerful civilizations rise, grow rich, dominate the world, and then slowly begin to crack? Because beneath history, there seems to be a hidden pattern. And once you see it, you start noticing it everywhere. When we imagine collapse, we usually picture something dramatic. Barbarians invading Rome, cities burning, governments falling overnight. But historians now think collapse is usually much slower and much stranger. The Roman Empire didn't vanish in a single day. Neither did the Maya civilization, or the Bronze Age kingdoms, or the Soviet Union. Instead, systems slowly weakened beneath the surface, long before the final breakdown became obvious. And the people living through it often normalized the decline, because humans are surprisingly good at adapting to dysfunction. A little more corruption? Normal. A little more instability? Normal. A little more distrust? Normal. Civilizations rarely feel like they're collapsing while you're inside them. They just feel increasingly stressful. One of the most important theories about collapse comes from anthropologist Joseph Tainter. His idea was surprisingly simple. Civilizations solve problems by becoming more complex. Need more food? Build irrigation systems. Need protection? Create armies. Need organization? Build bureaucracies. Need trade? Create roads, ports, laws, banks, governments, supply chains. And at first, this works brilliantly. Complexity creates wealth. Technology improves life. Societies become stronger, but over time, something changes. Each new layer of complexity becomes more expensive to maintain. More administrators, more energy, more infrastructure, more coordination. And eventually, civilizations reach a dangerous point where the system requires enormous effort just to keep functioning normally. Think about modern society for a second. Electric grids, satellites, global shipping, financial systems, internet servers, supply chains stretching across continents. Modern civilization is unbelievably advanced, but it's also unbelievably interconnected. And interconnected systems can become fragile. There's a strange paradox in history. The more efficient civilizations become, the less resilient they sometimes are. Ancient villages were inefficient, but local. Modern civilizations are highly optimized, but optimization often removes backup systems. A disruption in one place can now spread everywhere. A failed harvest once affected a region. Today, a disruption can affect global food prices. A financial panic in one country can spread across the entire planet in hours. The Bronze Age collapse may have worked like this. Around 3,200 years ago, major Mediterranean civilizations were deeply connected through trade. Then multiple stresses hit at once: war, famine, migration, political instability, and suddenly, entire kingdoms collapsed within decades. Trade networks disappeared. Cities were abandoned. Writing systems vanished. One shock triggered another, and another, and another, like dominoes falling. Another pattern appears again and again throughout history. As civilizations grow wealthier, inequality often grows with them. Power concentrates, resources concentrate, and eventually, ordinary people begin losing trust in institutions. This matters more than it sounds, because civilizations don't survive through force alone. They survive because millions of people continue cooperating inside a shared system. They believe the rules matter, the future is worth investing in, and society still works for them. But when trust declines, societies become unstable from the inside. The Roman Empire struggled with growing inequality. Many late empires did. And modern researchers like Peter Turchin argue that elite competition and inequality are common features before periods of instability. History suggests civilizations become dangerous when wealth becomes concentrated, institutions lose legitimacy, and citizens stop feeling connected to the system itself. But perhaps the deepest reason civilizations collapse is psychological. Human beings resist changing systems that once made them successful, and that creates a trap. A civilization builds institutions during one era, then tries using those same institutions in a completely different world. Sometimes the system becomes too rigid to adapt. Leaders defend outdated structures, bureaucracies become slow. Short-term thinking replaces long-term planning. And even when warning signs appear, change feels risky. So societies delay adaptation until problems become crises. History is full of civilizations that saw danger coming, but couldn't change fast enough. One of the strangest things about collapse is how suddenly it can accelerate. Complex systems can absorb stress for years, sometimes decades. Everything appears stable, right until the moment it isn't. The Soviet Union looked powerful shortly before it dissolved. Financial markets often look strongest before crashes, because collapse is often nonlinear. Pressure quietly builds beneath the surface until a threshold is crossed. Then confidence disappears rapidly, and confidence is one of the invisible foundations of civilization. Money works because people trust it. Governments function because people believe in them. Institutions survive because people cooperate with them. When trust collapses, systems can unravel frighteningly fast. So, could modern civilization collapse too? The honest answer is, no one knows. Modern humanity is more technologically advanced than any civilization in history, but we are also more interconnected, more energy dependent, more psychologically overloaded, and more globally linked than ever before. Today's stresses look different. AI disruption, information overload, declining trust, climate pressure, debt, polarization, loneliness, cyber warfare. But many scholars point out something uncomfortable. The patterns beneath collapsing civilizations often look surprisingly familiar. That does not mean collapse is inevitable. Civilizations can adapt, societies can reform, technology can solve enormous problems. But history suggests one important lesson. No civilization is guaranteed permanence. Not because humans are weak, but because complexity itself creates fragility. The ruins of past civilizations are scattered across the planet, broken temples, abandoned cities, collapsed empires that once believed they were eternal. And maybe that is the strangest lesson history teaches us. Civilizations do not usually disappear because people want them to fail. They disappear because millions of ordinary people slowly stop believing the system can continue forever. History doesn't repeat exactly, but civilizations often fail in familiar ways. And somewhere in the future, another civilization may someday look back at ours and wonder how we thought we would last forever.